Okay, so this is part two, or phase two, of the solenoid front buzzer trigger for my coworker Ben. In phase one, I showed how I set up this circuit with the solenoid here and triggered it using the particle app, iOS app. But obviously, I don't want to have to use the particle iOS app because I want anybody with access to that web page to be able to activate it. So the first step to be able to do that is to create a function in the particle IDE, which is a web-based IDE, to control the solenoid. So let's hop over to the particle IDE right now and take a look at the code that's currently sitting on this board. Line 1 defines solenoid pin. That's the D1, which is the pin that currently commands the high-low of the solenoid to tell it whether or not to turn on or off. This pause amount, unsigned long amount of 4,000 milliseconds. Most timers within Arduino and also within Particle, since it's an Arduino-based system, is in milliseconds. So 4,000 is 4 seconds. And then the wait amount is 0 because currently I'm not waiting for anything. And then what we do is we set up, in the setup, we declare what the pin is. So solenoid pin D1 is an output pin. And I'm going to declare a particle function and call it activate solenoid. And then you repeat that for the name of the function itself. This could be any string because this is where you're going to call it, and this is what that string actually triggers. And triggers activate solenoid with a argument of a string. In this case, it doesn't matter what string we're going to send because we're not really going to be waiting for a particular string of on or off. We're just going to turn it on and turn it off within a certain amount of time. I have what really is a Boolean. Booleans are 0 or 1, true or false. So in this case, or false or true. So I'm setting a solenoid on to 0 or false, really. And then I'm declaring my function, activate solenoid. So when this happens, solenoid on becomes 1. The wait amount is created, which grabs the current time, in millis, and then adds the 4,000 milliseconds, or 4 seconds. And then we digital write solenoid pin to high, which turns on the solenoid. Then in the loop, which runs as fast as the chip, or as fast as the clock on the particle allows, we check to see whether or not solenoid on is true or is 1. We could change this to equals 1. It doesn't really matter. It's just going to check to see whether or not that is 1. And then we're going to do a check against the time. So if the current milliseconds are greater than that amount, wait amount, which is that milliseconds in that moment, plus pause amount, we're going to turn the solenoid pin low, and we're going to turn the solenoid on integer to 0. So this will no longer check against this stuff. So if we want to see this in action, we go to the iOS app. I still haven't built the webhook, but this is the next stage. So we go to the iOS app, choose our thing, choose our particle Photon. We can see there is a function available to us now called activate solenoid. And the solenoid actually activates, waits for 4 seconds, and turns off. So hit. That's great. So that's all I wanted it to do, and it's doing exactly what I was hoping. So that's phase 2. We now can activate the solenoid using a function that is public to the particle system.